Good evening, everyone. This is Black and Indigenous American. Hope all is well with you guys. This video is probably going to be pretty quick. I'm not going to spend too much time on this video. Excuse how I'm looking right about now because I just finished working out. Shout out to Billy Blanks, Tabo, right? FYI, guys, I actually met Billy Blanks for a free advanced Taibo fitness early morning class at the National Harbor in the DC metropolitan area. This was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I've always been a fan of Taibo. At the end of the day, it works, at least for me, for someone who loves to kickbox and all that. But anyway, so don't mind the way I look right about now because I'm a sweaty mess. But I wanted to get on real quick to discuss a little bit about a couple of things. First, I want to give a shout out to this book, Native Harvest, American Indian Wild Foods and Recipes. You can get this off of Amazon. I actually got this, I want to say I either got this from a powwow or I got it from a gift shop at a museum somewhere that was pertaining to Native American people. So yeah, Native Harvest, American Indian Wild Foods and Recipes. I didn't read this entire book, but what I did was I did flip through. This was a few years back, and yeah, they have some really good stuff in here. I did highlight a few things, and I say all of this is because many times when we think something is considered soul food, because currently that's the particular ingredient that's used in some of the dishes that many of us who grew up in that environment, what we were brought up on, and we label it as soul food, but in actuality, a lot of that so-called soul food originally was Indigenous American food. It's just over the years, it has tweaked quite a bit, which put it in the soul food category. But anyway, I thought about this book because I went to the DC Veg Fest on Sunday, August the 11th. I mean, for those who already seen the video, then this is kind of like, reiterating what I experienced. But for those who haven't seen the video, I suggest you check it out. It's just me with one of my best friends enjoying ourselves at the DC Veg Fest. I enjoyed it. It was amazing. It was too many options, and it was one of those things where you are in your element finally, and you're overwhelmed by it. But anyway, again, I suggest this book. I'll read the back of it. It says, "This wonderful book is not just a recipe collection, but a passport to foraging and to surviving close to nature. It will tell you how to prepare familiar foods, such as stuffed clams and corn chowder, but also how to fix clover soup, purslane salad, young milkweed spears, wild rice with hazelnuts and blueberries, fiddlehead stew, meadow mushroom pie, stewed wild rabbit with dumplings, spoon bread, acorn coffee, and witch hazel tea." Basically illustrated by and beautifully illustrated by the author herself of American Indian descent, Native Harvest. Is also an invaluable manual on herbal medicines and ceremonial, sacred, and poisonous plants, all written with acute sensitivity to and appreciation of Native American ways. And one of the main reasons why I did get this book, because I wanted to know more about the medicinal elements of plants and herbs, because that's kind of my thing too. But also it has very good recipes, and I say check it out. Back to the Vegan Soul Fest. I was so inspired because there's so many soul food alternatives, right? That I was able to indulge in and to enjoy And it has a lot of the similar flavors that I miss eating soul food when I changed my eating habits. And so I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't this be a wonderful opportunity for many Native inspired events, for instance, powwows, right? If they had something similar, like, yeah, if you want your taco, Indian tacos and fried bread and all that, that's your prerogative. But for the rest of us, when we want flavor, but not necessarily all of the bad stuff that goes along with it, it would be nice if we had an option or alternatives. Now, whenever I go to events like that, I usually pack because I know how it is. And I know if I don't want a lot of sugar or something like that, I just need to pack, something in a cooler for myself so I can pretty much survive the entire time. But I say all of this because, again, back to this book that I'm suggesting, I think it's very important to understand how to eat healthy and be a minority, in particular an Indigenous American person, at the same time. Like, you shouldn't have to sacrifice your culture, your cuisine, for the sake of eating healthy. Now, you can eat healthy all you want, but I feel like to honor who you are and your culture. A lot of times culture is either your religion, family traditions, and a lot of it has to do with what you eat, your cuisine. If you eat a particular cuisine, like, oh, that's such and such, or that's, whatever. Or that cuisine or that dish comes from that region or that country. So anyway, again, I suggest for those out there that are interested in still respecting their indigenous family recipes and also cuisine, they can also do that, as well as eating healthy, right? Then after this Vegan Soul Fest, again, you can look at my other videos about my experience there, which was amazing. I was like, I wish there was something here that also was equivalent to a vegan festival or vegetarian festival that highlighted American Indian and Indigenous American dishes, right? Now, one of my favorite museums in the DC metropolitan area is the National Museum of the American Indian. I've talked about this museum in the past. I love their food court or their restaurant or whatever you want to call it. It's really good, and they've gotten awards for their cuisine and just, award museum when it comes to food. And I say all of this because, again, I wish there was more of that type of stuff on the Powwow Trail and any other Native American, Indigenous American event. So as soon as I thought about that, later on that evening, again, this is August the 11th, I came across an announcement on social media. And this was from the Northwest Area Foundation on Facebook. They're called the Northwest Area Foundation. It says, Opportunity Friday. One of our grantees, American Indian Community Housing Organization, is hosting the Indigenous Food Expo on September the 21st in Duluth, Minnesota. Not only will you get lots of great Indigenous food, but you'll hear awesome Indigenous music, and importantly, learn how Indigenous food also functions as a medium of expression for social change. Not to mention, the sous chef will be there. So look up the sous chef, SIOUX. He's going to be at this Indigenous Food Expo. And when I first saw that, I was like, oh my God, this is what I was thinking about. Like having a food expo that highlights Indigenous American cuisine. And for instance, wild rice and salmon, right? I'm just thinking off the top of my head, something that's healthy. Wild rice and salmon versus fried bread and deep fried Oreos, or whatever you would typically find at a typical powwow, right? And then in the same breath, there's someone speaking about health concerns within Indigenous American communities. And the first thing that pops up in my mind is diabetes. I mean, I've been to powwows before where there's been a nurse or a representative from the health department, and they're there checking people's blood pressure or whatever, right? Free of charge. But at the same time, right around the corner are these vendors, 2-3 vendors, and they're selling what we shouldn't be eating. And as a vegetarian, the only thing I could find on that type of menu is some French fries, right? So I've learned over the years to just take my food with me when I go to an event like that, when there's not many options as far as food and the quality of food. But yeah, so I went to the website, clicked on the link on Facebook, and it says about the expo. For the latter half of the century, Indigenous people across the United States have been gaining traction in a movement to revitalize our traditional ways. Using mediums like art, music, and poetry, our communities have been uplifting the voices of our ancestors. Amidst this collective revitalization, an often overlooked medium of expression has emerged as a powerful tool to inspire political and social action: Indigenous food. Our food can't be experienced by one's sense of taste alone. Beyond seasoning and healthy, localized ingredients, our food contains history, right? Within it is the power to connect, resurrect, and heal. On September the 21st, 2019, the American Indian Community Housing Organization plans to host Duluth's first large-scale Indigenous Foods Expo, bringing together Indigenous food producers, chefs, artists, musicians, and hundreds of community members to experience flavors and culture from across our Indigenous nations, plural, in one festival. In the heart of Duluth, we've reserved Central Hillside Park in the Hillside neighborhood and a section of 4th Street from our market to its busy intersection at Lake Avenue. Chef Sean Sherman, founder of the company, the Sous Chef, is confirmed as our featured guest speaker and will provide an Indigenous food cooking demonstration alongside other Indigenous foods experts from all around. The event will be the first of its kind in the region and will be entirely free and open to the public, supplying not just one, but many answers to the question of what exactly is Indigenous food. Boom, there you go. There you go. Again, later, not tonight, I'm going to have this link so you can at least find this book if you choose to purchase it on Amazon. I'll put a link down. But and I'm sure there's plenty of books out there that give you some original content when it comes to different herbs and recipes and things of that nature. This book has obviously a reference guide in the back, and they have an index and, whatever you could think of off the top of your head, like cornbread, for instance. Now, a lot of people think cornbread, cornbread and collard greens, and you think of that and you think, oh, soul food. Cornbread originally was an Indigenous American, side dish or whatever. Let's see. For instance, let me go to this one page here. Trying to see. But I mean, I can read real quick. Instead of going to cornbread, I'll just kind of read the contents real quick for you, and then I'm going to end this video. So you have the introduction, nature seasonings, native soups, native vegetables, botanical charts, native ferns, lichens, and mosses, wild mushrooms, wild meats, saltwater and freshwater harvest, natural breads, wilderness beverages, native seasoning or seasonal menus and complements. I'm sorry, menus and complements. Sorry. Native ceremonial and sacred plants. And that's one of the main reasons why I got this book, because of the ceremonial and sacred plants. I wanted to know more about that. Smudging, herbal traditions, medicinal plants and natural health care, wild medicines and cosmetics, wild smoking mixtures, natural chewing gums, poisonous wild plants, native healing pathways, and spirituality. So yeah, so that gives you an idea what this book is all about. And I do hope one day they will have something similar like that Indigenous Food Expo. They will have something similar in the metropolitan area, in the DMV area, or at least somewhere on the East Coast, right? I would hope they will have something like that. Again, I am a huge fan of veggie festivals, vegan festivals. I went to the Vegan Soul Festival in Baltimore last year, and the year before that, I went to the DC Veg Festival like maybe 3 times, and then I took a break because I wanted to check out other festivals. And so this year I went to the DC Veg Festival after about 3 years, I think. And so they moved the venue from a vacant parking lot to the Nationals baseball team in DC, their ballpark. So it was like that. Let's just put it that way. So I'm hoping that they will have something similar, or even add some indigenous American vendors that's all about vegan and vegetarian and all that too. Because you can take something that's healthy and turn it into something unhealthy. And unfortunately, I think over the decades, over the generations, a lot of the original indigenous ingredients and cuisine has been governmentalized. And I just made that word up. A lot of white flour, refined sugars, all this stuff that tastes good, right? But now there's so many YouTubers out there that have made some of the most bland veggie, vegan, or whatever dishes to taste so freaking good. Like when I had jerk chickenless on Sunday, I've had jerk chicken before, y'all. When I used to eat meat, when I used to eat poultry. And it was amazing. And it was not animal based. Everything at that festival was vegan, period. Not some vegan, not only the ingredients, not only the meat substitute. No, everything was vegan at this festival. And that jerk chickenless was so freaking good. I was like, I had to look at the piece of meat to make sure it wasn't real chicken. It was so good. And then obviously I had chicken fingers, chickenless fingers from the same vendor. It was amazing. It was amazing. So I challenged our brothers and sisters within the Indigenous American community, right? Because I come from a soul food community. That's the community I come from, even though there's Indigenous American elements and ingredients, but then soul food turns it up a notch, right? So I think I'm hoping and I'm challenging those out there who are wizards in the kitchen. Okay, you are gifted. You are gifted. You are cooks. You are chefs. You know how to make things taste good. For people like me that need a recipe and measure stuff, because I'm not a kitchen person. I'm not a person who loves to spend my time creating recipes and creating different flavors and all of that. I'm more of a by the book. All right, what do I need? How much powder or whatever? So we need people that don't need to measure because they're true cooks, right? They're natural born chefs. We need more people like that can take what they're used to preparing and adjust it and put the right seasoning and ingredients and things of that nature in a dish and make it taste even more spectacular than they would if it was, a dead animal on a plate. You know what I mean? I'm challenging you. Anybody out there that know what they're doing in the kitchen. Now, I watch YouTubers who know what they're doing. I actually bought a vegan recipe book from this one YouTuber. I mean, she blew up, okay? She would just make all these amazing dishes, and she would, dress it up so you wouldn't even think you would not have thought it was vegan the way she prepared it. And of course, she probably had all day to be in the kitchen. And then once she got the recipe just right, then she recorded a video, So we don't see a lot of the behind the scenes. But for those people that have the time and they have the expertise and know how to make food taste amazing, I hope and I pray that more of you within the Indigenous American community will step up. And maybe I'm the one supposed to step up, even though I'm not a cook or a chef. But this has just been on my mind for the past few years. It's like, why is it that many of the food vendors at these Indigenous American events, why is there not a platform for, and not just bland food. I'm not talking about bland food. I'm talking about food with flavor that our ancestors ate, right? That's not full of chemicals and nitrate and all of that. Back to the basics. That's the name of the video. Back to the basics. Going back to the indigenous basics. Wild rice, and like I said, I mentioned salmon, stuff like that. But still, it's like, I just feel like we will be a lot more healthy if we went back to our roots when it comes to our cuisine and how to prepare it without damaging ourselves. You know what I mean? So that's all I have for you guys tonight. And not many people are on Thursdays, I notice. Fridays, I have a larger crowd that chime in. But anyway, that's all I have to say. Until next time, and there will definitely be a next time. Toodles, be blessed, and be a blessing to others. Take care. Until next time.